Welcome to Insider Access for the Burnt Out Professional. My name is Donna Snyder, founder of Marikai Coaching Services and host of Insider Access. Here we talk about what's actually happening in the professional world right now, why it feels weird, so frustrating, and frankly, broken. If you're job searching, hiring, or just wondering what the hell is going on out there, this one's for you. If you missed episode 1, be sure to go back and watch that first. We introduced our guest, Najatte Kanan, who I've known personally and professionally for many, many, many years. We've worked together a number of times, and she currently owns Probe Recruitment in Quebec, Canada. And we covered a number of topics related to this second episode. Today, we'll be covering primarily issues around corporate culture and fit, job transitions and career longevity, and founders' perspective and closing words of wisdom. If you yourself are a burnt out professional or enjoy this type of content, please consider becoming a follower and subscribing to Insider Access wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss out on important Marikai Coaching Services content. As a quick announcement before we begin, our new and improved website, marikaicoachingservices.com, has recently launched. There you can find professional coaching services in addition to links to the podcast on various platforms, our social media accounts, blog, newsletter, and much more. Head over to marikaicoachingservices.com today to learn more about seasoned professional coaching for individuals and companies. That's MERAKI coachingservices.com. All right. So moving on to the lovely and talented Najatte Kanan.
Hi, Donna.
Welcome back.
Thank
Hi,
you
welcome
for having
back.
me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Excellent. So let's dive right into corporate culture and fit. First question that I have for you today, and this is one of my favorites, very near and dear to my heart, and I know it is to yours as well. When clients say they want culture fit, what do you think they really usually mean, and what should they mean?
It's a great question, Donna. And I think it's something that people ask themselves a lot. Oftentimes candidates will get the "you weren't just the right culture fit" response when they're being told that they're not moving forward, and it's elusive. And we all wonder what that means, really. And I think it
Mhm.
means different things to different companies and different people. And I think oftentimes usually ends up being one of these two scenarios where the company's saying, I have a in their minds are thinking I have a young, dynamic team that align on how to approach problems, that hang out after work, that talk about the latest episode of whatever show's hot. They work hard together, they play hard together, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one way of describing culture fit and not fitting in that kind of environment. Or another scenario is the flip side of that is I have a team that's been together for 25 years. They don't want some new hotshot coming in and fixing things that aren't broken and telling us what to do, and they have no idea what we've been through, and they don't know the history of all of this. And um that I find that oftentimes it ends up being one of those two buckets.
Yeah.
But to the final question you asked is, what should it really be? And I think that this is something that I've tried to instill in my clients and candidates as well, to say, look, I mean, it should definitely be about people aligning on their values, work ethic, and company objectives, absolutely. But to also be able to challenge convention in a healthy way. What like who would want to
Amen.
Right? Who would want to
Yeah.
be in a boardroom surrounded by 10 other people that think exactly as you do, that say the same things? Like, there's absolutely no creativity in that environment, in that situation. I
Mhm.
I think that uh creativity and change will absolutely not they will die if you continue with that model, if you continue to hire people that you can't just have yes men around you. You've got to have people, sorry for the expression, yes men or women, yes people. You have to be able to have
Dare
diversity.
I say diversity of thought?
I think diversity. Yes, diversity. It is all about that, I think. So
Agreed.
that's what it should be. Yeah.
Well, and I'm positive you've had this experience too. But I was listening to you and I was thinking about the number of times throughout my career that I literally was screening for. You may have 5 people who tick all the boxes when it comes to skills and experience and education, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And how often it comes down to how well they will work with their potential boss, the other potential teammates. Um, it can come down to something as simple and, frankly, in my opinion, ridiculous as their appearance.
Hmm.
Like in a super conservative environment or in a personality truly plays a big part in this. And
Yes, absolutely.
and I think that's like the kind of, the really tricky part that a recruiter has to navigate, because
Hmm.
someone absolutely can be the perfect candidate in every sense, but they're just not going to connect with the people they need to if they were in
Yeah.
that job. One other thing that I just wanted to add to that is the truth is, in my opinion, and this is, of course, Monday morning quarterbacking, but they would be not be likely to be very happy in that role anyway if they're not well aligned with the people they have to work with. But it's really hard to tell someone that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. There definitely has to be a certain likability factor.
But I also do think, to the point that you made about diversity, if you're hiring homogenously, people, and everyone's tendency is you want to hire people like you. That's the natural tendency,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think it's so critically important. And you and I, you multiple times that we work together, like I like to involve my team in hiring decisions when
Mhm.
there's someone joining the team. Because a lot of times you get any group of people together and there's going to be different opinions, and not everyone is going to see anything the exact same way. And so even just having those other voices weigh in on, whether that this is someone they want to work with or not,
Right. Yeah.
is and you get a lot of insight that way. But it's fascinating, also when I've coached teams that were having like a lot of difficulty or upheaval for one reason or another, and you look at even just the personality characteristics of a team,
Mhm.
you can so clearly see the tendency to hire very similar people. We're all guilty of that. And just
It's
one
true.
other, yeah,
Yeah.
just one other example I'll give really quickly. My last team, the people in development team, I saw it firsthand. I did a Hogan assessment on the entire team, and everyone was incredibly high in interpersonal sensitivity, which is one of the factors. And the funny thing about that is that was really pretty important. It's an important characteristic for people who are dealing with people and training them and developing them. You want to have that empathy and the ability to sort of read the room and understand, how other people are feeling and reacting to things. At the very same time, it taught us an important lesson, which was we need to go outside of this team and have people poke holes in our ideas. So I
Mhm.
think even just that sort of awareness,
Mhm.
there's so much value in that.
Yeah.
And if more organizations would approach it that way, you wouldn't end up with so much flatness and lack of ideas and really
Mhm.
pull some creativity in.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think those are great examples, and I think you're absolutely right. I think we naturally are attracted to people that reflect things in ourselves, right? And so I
Mhm.
think that that's for sure. There's a built-in bias there, but I think if people try just a little bit harder to just see beyond that and look for that diversity, look for people that can bring something new and different and exciting and affect change in that way. I think that will go. Just making that little bit of effort can probably go a long way.
Agreed. Great
Yeah.
point. Okay, so on that note, have you seen companies use culture as a reason to avoid hard conversations or real change?
Oh my gosh, of course. Yeah. I mean, the people use companies use the word people use the word culture like in organizations. It's it's used as a catch-all for not being able to give clear, concise feedback very, very often. Why? More often than not, people don't want to get into it. Can people really uh can people are people really receptive to that feedback, or
Mm,
can it can it backfire? If you're giving open and honest feedback, I mean, it's really, really touchy. It's a really touchy thing. So it just gets kind of chalked off to culture fit, and that's it, and everybody kind of has to accept that. And
right.
some candidates push back and they're like, no, no, I really want some specific feedback. And personally, I gauge their ability to absorb that and receive it. And if I feel like they are very sincere, I will give that back to them. And
Mhm.
as much as I know of it, I mean, there are many, many times companies will not fully divulge, putting themselves at risk or something that could put them in
Sure.
trouble.
Sure, sure. And
Yeah,
and I mean, there's another fine line
yeah,
that everyone has to walk, right?
yeah.
And it's, okay, let's not get sued over this hiring
Exactly,
choice. Yes.
exactly.
And
It's delicate.
it is. At the very same time, there is a huge part of me, if I think about being in the candidate's shoes, like, and I've done this myself, and this happened to be an executive search, and there were really two finalists, and this was for a chief role, and both of the finalists, every interviewer on the panel agreed. They were like, we could not go wrong with either one of them. And half of them had one favorite, half of them had the another favorite, and all of it came down to personality.
Hmm.
And in this particular case, and this is where I'm getting at the culture piece, in this particular case, they were going to be reporting to someone who was rather difficult to report to. And everyone in the room knew the boss for this role, the manager for this role,
Mhm.
quite well, and had separate conversations around how is he going to tolerate this person. And at the end of the day, we had a successful candidate, one who was not, and I was as transparent as I could be. This is absolutely nothing to do with your skills. No one had felt you were lacking anything. This legitimately came down to, the relationships with the people that you would have to work with, and it isn't you. My point being, sometimes the culture is the problem,
Hmm.
not the candidate.
Mhm.
That's a hard conversation to have, but if I had been in his seat, I would have wanted to know that.
I think that's really good of you to have done that and to have shared that. And I think,
You think
you know
I'm nuts, don't you? You
no,
can say
I know,
it.
I actually think probably in hindsight, that person was probably thanking you.
Yeah,
I
I
think,
don't think it was fun to hear at the time,
yeah,
but it's also awful to walk away from an experience like that and wonder what was I missing?
yes. Yeah, yeah, rejection is hard. It's hard.
Very.
Even
Yeah.
if it's in your best interest, that you don't see right away,
Yeah.
It's tough. But I've
Right.
always said that, if I've lost a contract or didn't get uh, didn't win a pitch or whatever it is, I always say that to myself. It's probably it's for the best. I mean, as cliche as that is, it usually is for the best, and there's something else waiting for you that's better.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. So, from your experience, what actually best predicts long-term success in a role?
I think I think what I've seen from my experience, I think that the people that succeed and stay the longest in companies and evolve and grow are those that are that show up every day. And I don't just mean I don't just mean physically. I mean like really being present in conversations, meetings, being proactive, strong communicators. You can't go wrong. There's no such thing as over communicating, continuously setting goals for themselves, continuously improving and learning, and just wanting to do better for themselves is
Mhm.
you'll wanting to do better for yourself. You'll end up doing better for everybody around you as well as yourself. And the last thing I would say about that is staying out of office politics. Keep your nose clean. Stay clean. Stay away from that stuff, and just focus on doing well and performing and showing up every day.
That's easier said than done sometimes.
I know it is. It
So,
is.
shifting gears just a little bit. So, if we kind of focus on professionals who are more mid to late career
Mhm.
and in transitions,
Yes.
very tough place to be, especially right now.
Yes.
Um, what advice do you wish more people heard? And not to kind of hammer it home, but this is a particularly trying time
Yeah.
for anyone in North America, at the very least.
Yes.
We looked at a little research prior to this episode. So in February alone, the
Mhm.
US lost 92,000 jobs in 1 month. And in Canada, in the first 2 months of the year, more than 100,000 jobs.
Yeah.
We're
It's tough.
outpacing you. Ha, the US is winning, but but this is none of this is reassuring. Can we
No.
agree on that?
It's tough. It is really tough out there. It's really, really tough. And for professionals in mid-career or late career transition, I think, too often I see that particular demographic lose confidence. They lose confidence in themselves. They choke. They're like, because I mean, constantly getting rejected, not really, kind of like applying for jobs, like throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping something sticks. Oh, I applied to 500 jobs and I got nothing. And that's discouraging because there's absolutely no
Mhm,
strategy behind it. And all you do is receive those rejection emails. Thanks, but no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. And it weighs on people. Of course, it can affect anybody. That's tough. um, the other thing that I find ends up happening is, they finally get that interview, but they so desperately want it that that really comes out. Like
mhm,
the desperation thing. Like you
mhm.
they reek of it. It's like it's the ode to desperation. It's like it's not a good look. It's not a good look for anybody. People sense that. People really do pick up on that. And
Yeah.
that's where you lose your edge and you're done. Like they won't want to move you forward because they don't think that you believe in yourself. How can you believe in the company or anyone else? So it's tough. It's a really, really fine line of people really, you know you look. I mean, this is an age group, this is a demographic that has a lot of experience.
Mhm.
They you have we have a lot of experience and knowledge, and it's really challenging to compartmentalize all of that and share only what is relevant and not bring in all of the fears and panic and anxiety that you have over not getting.
Mm,
It's really, really tough. I'm not suggesting it's easy, but I think that I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Play that game out with people before you go to an interview. What's the worst that can happen? They don't like me. I'll move on. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. So maybe like taking that edge off, removing that pressure to say, this is not a do or die. I know there's like, a lot of people applying for the same job, but I'm okay. I've got this, re-harness that
Mhm.
energy and that confidence that you have. You've earned your spot. You've earned that. All of these years of experience, all these years of all the studies, everything that you've been through, you've earned your place here. You deserve to
Mhm.
be here. So there's nobody that should take that away from you. And if people believed in themselves more and showed up at these interviews, in these conversations with that confidence, knowing that they absolutely deserve to get that. They would do a great job at it, and they have to believe that themselves. I think that's
Yeah.
probably the best thing that I could tell people to do, even myself.
Sure.
Even myself, and again, practice. Nobody needs to know about the job you had in 1975. It's that's in the past. What can you do today? How can you solve this company's problems today? What can you bring to the table now? How can you move them forward? That kind of
Yeah.
thinking, I think, will can change the outcome.
Yeah. No, and it's so easy to tell, to say, okay, you've got to come across as confident, and there are so many people, and I talk to people all the time
Yeah,
that it's it's heartbreaking, right? I mean, your life is so tied to your financial well-being, then you add all of the layers of, do I just need to take something to so that I can put food on the table and pay my rent?
yes,
Maybe this isn't the job that I'm the most passionate about ever
yeah,
in my life, but there's real world
yeah,
considerations there too.
yeah,
Um, and it just seems like there's been almost a crisis of this is so hard on so many people at all levels.
yeah,
At all levels, no matter, entry level employment is dang near as hard to get at this point as more senior level positions are.
yes,
So
yeah,
it's across the board, and I think, one of the things that an approach I have often taken with people is just you are not alone, that you are not the only person feeling like this. You're not wrong for feeling this way.
yeah,
Just know you're not alone. And if you can connect with other people in similar situations, have like a buddy system almost. Have each other's back. Have someone who's going to, remind you of all of the positive things about you, and if you catch yourself thinking negative things about yourself,
yeah.
think, would I say that to my best friend or
Wow.
someone I cared about? Because we say some awful things to ourselves that we would never say to someone we cared about. So think of it that way. Think of it when you catch yourself thinking, putting yourself down, feeling, down on yourself.
Yeah,
Um, what would your best friend say to you? You know, I
yeah. You're right.
just
You're
an
right.
idea.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And the other thing I would say also is that you mentioned that people are not finding things. Let's say they're not finding things in their area of expertise. Um, and my response to that in this market is, okay, well then just pivot and go look for some. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a very, very good thing, because if you, let's say, pivot and go to something else that totally was not on your radar,
Mhm,
that could open up things that you never
mhm,
thought possible. I
mhm,
mean, whatever it is. I remember I spoke to somebody that I love this person. I've known her for 30 years. She's an incredibly intelligent communications expert. And I spoke with her the other day. She's like, you know what? I'm thinking of working in a flower shop. I'm like, well, I think that's brilliant. I think that's fantastic. It's going to open up a whole different world of possibilities for you. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know what's going to happen there. You have no idea.
Mhm.
our obsession with trying to kind of control things is, I think that's stifling. If you go out there, put yourself out there and do things that you wouldn't normally do, and especially now, I think
Mhm.
it could lead to beautiful things. We don't know.
Completely agree. And the really interesting part about that is I would say that 99% of the people currently that I'm coaching are pivoting. And for so many of them, it's because kind of similar to the way I was feeling a few years ago, like, okay, this is going to kill me. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
This is not aligned with who I am as a human being. I don't like who I'm becoming. I've got to do something else entirely. And there are more and more and more people doing that. Like, it's that I almost feel like it started with the whole, like, you have to decide what you're going to be when you're t 20 years old and
Yeah.
stick with that for the rest of your life. You're going to be a completely different person in 30 years
Hmm.
than you are today. And
Hmm.
why do we think that everything else has to stay the same? Like, I don't know about you. I'm not wearing the same pair of jeans I wore in high school. Why? Why? Why do I would I believe that, I'm gonna do this one thing and that's it. That's the only option for the rest of my life.
My
And
God, you're right. My gosh,
yeah,
yeah.
and it just feels like so many people are figuring that out, and some of it is, I'm not putting all of my eggs in one basket ever again. I'm going
Hmm.
to have multiple streams of income.
Hmm.
What I've discovered something about myself that I don't do well with this thing. I actually excel in this, or that, there's this something that's critically important to me that's missing in the work that I'm doing. So I'm going to find a way to fill that need somewhere else.
Yeah,
Um, it happens for a million different reasons. Sometimes it's just because that whole sector just tanked,
it's true.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing
So,
that I would say as well is about just trying to stay relevant and stay in the game some way, however you
mhm,
can. And if you are struggling to find something, there's a lot of NPO, not for profit organizations that could use some help.
mhm.
It's something that I was looking into as well, and that I spoke with somebody yesterday who's looking at. I don't know if in the U.S. they have this association. It's called Dress for Success.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You have it as well in the,
Yeah.
yeah. It's I think I think it's a great organization, and so continuing to people at our level willing to help out younger people starting out, giving them that advice that you've worked so hard over your life to acquire, and giving that to somebody else that could use it, who's just starting out. I think that
Mhm.
that's some way another way that you can uh give back to the
Yeah.
community and pay it forward, and once again making connections. You have no idea what who else is volunteering and who else is involved, so speaking to other people in these organizations, you have no idea who you're going to connect with. So I think it's
Yeah.
really important to just continuously put yourself out there in however positive way possible, and see what comes
Mhm.
back. I believe it will come back.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. So kind of on that note of pivoting, professionals pivoting, do you feel like companies are truly open to career pivots, or do they still expect, generally speaking, a linear career path?
I think that there's a bit of both. Sorry, but I think there is. I don't think there's any. I think it's still gray. I think that there are, for example, some companies that are much more. They have a much better structure for succession planning, and they're and building up and upskilling their workers. And I think that that's really really great. Um, Others that are less structured, they wouldn't even know where to start, because always it's a catch up culture, so they have no idea. It's tough to organize things like that. But I think that it is a bit of, I think there is a little bit of both, if I'm being honest. But I think, standing up, raising your hand and saying, making that case for yourself, you cannot go wrong. So speaking to your boss or your boss's boss about, what you would like to do and what are some of the steps that you would need to take to get there. I think in today's world, it is trending, more favorably towards that, having these open and honest conversations to kind of pivot and see if you'd be, somebody in HR, would they be good in sales? I don't know if that's where your heartstrings are pulling you, then, and if you have a company that's supportive, and if you can kind of maybe do a tour of duty, maybe kind of try things out. There are some companies and cultures that are receptive to that, and let's try to find more of those, and
Yeah, right.
encourage that. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot more of that than I have in the past.
Well, no, I think it's always so company specific, right? Frankly, it's hiring manager specific.
Yes.
So there could be, hiring managers within what I would consider like very conservative, culturally organizations that are a little more forward thinking and open to doing things a little differently, if they have the freedom to act on that.
Yeah.
Um, but it often is, it's what the hiring manager's inclination is.
Yeah.
Um, so, thinking about all of these folks who are pivoting or, looking for new pathways or just plain old looking, what's one myth about job searching that you'd love to see retire for good?
Um, that a lot of people just apply to jobs, and I touch on that a bit, saying throwing spaghetti. It's like throwing spaghetti on the wall, really. And I think that that's and hoping one will stick. I think that approach needs to go. I think that people are all it's doing is discouraging people and getting people more and more down about not finding work. I think that you have to be as strategic as looking for work as you are when you're actually in the role. Like, I think you have to treat it like a job. Job searching is a job in itself. So I think that
Mhm.
the idea that you can apply and then you're going to get called, I think you have. I don't know what the odds are, and I don't want to make up a number, but I think the odds are low, because you have to, there's so many things that are standing between you and that first interview, and you don't even know what they are. I mean, I think the first thing would be the ATS. Is it AI powered? Is it super? Is it going to just parse your entire CV and just pick out like the top 5 words? And even though you've done the job, if you don't have the exact job words that they're looking for, you're done. You're done. You can't go back. It's like there are a lot of these nuances that the average job seeker has no clue what's happening behind the scenes. So
Right,
I think that
right.
that's probably what I would say is needs to go. Yeah. Sorry. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that I answered your question. That
You did, you did. And actually, you kind of led really nicely into a question that I was going to ask a little bit later, but, the research team had, found an article in CNBC about a 25-year-old woman who got a job by mailing in her resume and a cringy note. So, basically, she went the old school snail mail route instead of applying online,
yeah.
and included a bunch of documentation that you wouldn't get to
Yeah.
in an online application,
Mm,
and they were like, and it was for a creative type of role, and, the company was like, "Oh, we loved the fact that she was thinking outside of the box, and she's, proven them that she was more than capable of it, and they love her." Um, and I was thinking, as I was reading that, about 2 examples just throughout my career that have never left me. Both of these happened a very long time ago, but I one time had someone send me their resume rolled up in a bottle with a cork. So, like, like they had sent it across the ocean or something, and I just thought that was so incredibly
That is
creative.
cute. That's really cute.
Yeah, and then another person, sent their resume in a shoebox with 1 shoe in it, and the note was about getting their foot in the door.
That is so
And
good.
so creative. I loved both of those so, so, so much.
That is
Um,
good.
but it touches on what you were saying, like, just kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again,
Yeah.
really isn't necessarily it is a numbers game, right? Like, you can't expect to apply to one job and done, you're in. Um, but also just continuing you know, spray your resume all over the place isn't a great strategy either. So there are other things you can do. And I guess, let's just talk about that now. Like, what are some other things that you can do that doesn't have to be mailing a shoe to someone?
Yeah, or or putting your resume on a cake. That I heard that. I heard somebody did
Ah,
that.
I love it. I love it.
Well, I mean, we touched on them a little bit, like saying, like volunteering, that pivoting and going outside of your niche, whatever you do, going outside of that,
Networking.
networking 100%. And we're not talking about like family and friends. I mean, you have to be comfortable taking risks, talking to people that you wouldn't normally talk to. And
Mhm.
I think that those are a lot of the things you can do to just make new connections. And even you never know, somebody could give you a fresh idea, a fresh perspective, or connect you to somebody else. Like, but for sure, staying doing, like you said, continuously doing the same things and expecting something. I mean, you can certainly do that. You can continue to do that, but it shouldn't be the only thing you do. It should be just
Mhm.
one element of what you do. Because oftentimes people wake up in the morning and you feel like you have to do something. Well, send a resume. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. And hopefully it'll come back. And if it doesn't, you've got all these other things lined up that you're going to be doing during your day. That's going to keep you
Mhm.
productive, keep your mind positive, and hopefully will move you forward. So it's
Mhm.
all about trying things that you wouldn't normally try, whatever it is. I there was a summer that I decided that I was going to say yes to everything. Probably not a good idea to say yes to everything, but I did. I said yes to everything, and I had a smashing summer. It was amazing. I
I bet
met
it was a lot of fun.
I met a lot of people. I had a lot of fun, and I've never looked back. It was a great little experiment that I tried. I liked it, but yeah, just kind of doing things that you wouldn't normally do. That's
Sure.
stretching yourself a little bit. It's okay. It's
I
okay.
like it. I like it. We're not necessarily condoning saying yes to everything, but it's a unique approach.
That's
I
how I
love
met
it.
my husband.
Well, there you have it, folks. All right. So, before we go any further down that road, just a little bit more kind of about you. I want to get from you some perspective from as a founder of a recruitment agency and someone who is excellent at her craft, and some closing wisdom for anyone out there who may be listening. And I think though, first there's some great things about your story. So so what pushed you to purchase Probe Recruitment? And what surprised you most about becoming a business owner?
Um, so I I always, Donna, I've always felt a little bit different, and you've known me long enough to know that I am a little bit different. And I, I wanted to do my own thing because I wanted to give to people in terms of candidate and client experience. I wanted to uh, I wanted to uh, give them what I think, and is important from for a recruiter. I think it's important to give this type of connection, and it's not just service. I mean, yes, service, but it's about connecting with people. It's about having the impact
Mhm.
on people's lives. Um, it's about being able to affect a positive change in somebody's life, and having that, seeing that person 5, 10 years later, and they give you a big hug and saying, oh my god, this person, Najatte, found me this job. It was an amazing experience, and like that stays with me. That is the reason that I wanted to do it on my own, is because I have something to say, I have something to put out there, and I want to do it in my way. And it's not easy. It's not easy. I mean,
Mhm.
this is a knock on 100 doors, and you get 99 no's and one yes. So
Mhm.
definitely takes a certain kind of resilience to be able to stick with it. But it's so worth it to see
Yeah.
the impact that I have on people. Is I mean, not everybody can like you, and that's not the goal. It's the goal is to make a difference, and I feel like I've been able to do that most of the time.
Excellent. I love it. So, if you could give one piece of grounded, honest advice to job seekers listening right now, what would it be?
I would say, be prepared. Be prepared. It's tough to get that call, and when you finally get that call, be prepared. For interviews, to speak about your skills, your experience, what you bring to the table. Do your homework on the company. Do your homework on who you're meeting. Those opportunities, like we said, they're fewer and far further between right now. So when you get that shot, make sure that you show up for it. Be authentic, be passionate, be engaging, be positive. There's a lot to be positive about. We yes, we're a certain demographic, but we still have a lot of runway, and we have a lot to offer, and we have a lot to give, and we have a lot of energy, and show that. you know
Mhm.
it's a
Mhm.
competitive market. Don't wait to be seen. We've covered, don't apply for a job and pray they call you. Make yourself visible, reach out to people, make those connections, things that we've been talking about. It really works. It really
Mhm.
does work. You have to stick with it. Don't get discouraged after day one. You got to keep going, and it's not if, it's when. But you've got to really show up. You've got to be prepared.
Mhm.
You've got to make sure that you're in it to win it, because there's 100 other people behind you waiting to take that job.
Mhm. Mhm. And, I would add, those are all incredible. And, we talked a little bit earlier about people getting, doubting themselves and getting really down on themselves and whatnot. But the exact same thing, that kind of how you're talking to yourself, talk like to you, to yourself and about yourself, because people get very uncomfortable if they're very humble, like, "Yeah, I can't sell myself, I can't," like,
Yeah,
imagine that you're talking about your best friend, and this is their resume, and
yeah,
you're telling this person you're interviewing with all of
mhm,
the wonderful things about them. You
yeah,
wouldn't be uncomfortable doing that. Take that approach too. That's
yeah.
been one of my favorite tools recently.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's great advice, Donna. I really do. And I also think one of the things I think we do is we focus a lot on, my daughter's a volleyball player, and the goal of it's interesting because volleyball is literally a game of errors. It's it's what it is, right? So, but if you focus on those errors, you won't make it. You might as well just, default. You might as well just give up the game, and call the other team a winner. It's not about the shot that you just missed. It's about the next one you're gonna take, right? So
Mhm.
I think that's really important, to make sure that you don't focus on things that you don't focus on the things you don't. Nobody does everything really well. You don't have to focus on those things. I don't do a lot of things well. I don't, but I know what I do well, and let's focus
Mhm.
on those things, because those things
Mhm.
are what's relevant for this job. Those are the things that are relevant for this conversation. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I can't cook for shit, but that's okay. That's not relevant to what we're talking about. This is an example.
Just you're not trying to get a job as a chef, thank God.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Excellent.
And I think repeating to yourself the things that you do well, that
Mhm,
it will give you the confidence and the
mhm,
courage to go
mhm,
forward and meet people and talk more and more. That self-talk that you were saying that kind of gets to us when it's negative. But don't
mhm.
focus on the things that you do really, really well. I can't do this, but I know that I can do this for the role, and that's what you need. Who cares about the other thing that I don't know how to do? Doesn't matter.
Perfect. Perfect. And what a perfect way to end the conversation. That is, we're out of time today. But thank you, Najatte, so much for joining. It has been such a pleasure having you on as our what is it, the inaugural guest. Couldn't have
It's
picked a better person.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been so much fun. I will not say no if you invite me back.
Okay, I may hold you to that. So we're keep that in. Keep that in. On that note, I also want to give a sincere thank you to the operations research and production team. They are the brains behind the scenes. We'll be back next month with a new episode of Insider Access. So please tune in and subscribe so that you don't miss it. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.